Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for jumping into another video. My name is Josh and I'm just your average Joe day trader. All the news surrounding Iran and Israel and all those geopolitical tensions and what are we doing? Are we going to take action? Are we not taking action? Is Trump going to, become involved and infuse ourselves, within the situation or not? We're waiting to see how that all pans out, but it's still causing some risk in the market, some volatility. Crude oil actually pulled back a little bit today, but obviously is still a great place to be if you're going to put some money in to make some money while that volatility takes place, or the issue with Iran and Israel has not been resolved yet. Trump actually is still weighing in on his decision on that. So he said 2 weeks. We're going to wait to see if that's true. It's Friday, and I personally believe something may happen this weekend, but we'll have to wait it out. There was also some discussion in the news today about how Iran now is interested in coming to the table, potentially meeting with the U.S. to start some negotiation discussions. I mean, listen, clearly, they can see that Israel is somewhat in control right now of what's going on there. If the U.S. were to grant Israel basically free reign, then Iran would be in big trouble. And if we were to get involved and to send our quote-unquote bunker buster, then there would definitely be a lot of opportunities for Iran, and whether they actually existed or not once we moved forward. So there's just so much there, guys, and it's causing all kinds of tension, not just in the market, but all the way across the board. Economy, obviously, gas prices, oil prices, all these things are affected. One big thing that did sort of affect my world, my tech stock world, is that there's still this concern about the U.S. trade and technology policy involving China. So there was a report that came out on China chip exports that basically suggested that the Trump administration was considering revoking waivers for companies shipping American chip-making equipment to China. So that impact, what ends up happening from that type of news is it causes a decline in the semiconductor stocks and all related ETFs. APLD is a great example of that. And I'm going to show you that a little bit later when we're reviewing the stocks and how they performed today. We also are waiting to understand what's going to happen with the Federal Reserve and all this economic data, right? The Federal Reserve opted to hold interest rates steady, citing persistent inflation pressures and potentially impact from these rising tariff concerns. So it's the same old story over and over again. This has not changed. We also, if you play earnings, like I love to play earnings, and if you've watched my earnings video, you see how I do that. There was some mixed reviews this week with earnings, guys. Several companies reported on earnings this week, like CarMax and Darden Restaurants, and those actually exceeded expectations. Those actually had impressive results. And then there were others like Accenture and Smith & Wesson that actually saw their stocks decline. But hey, guess what? Smith & Wesson, they're not going anywhere. So what do you do when they have poor earnings results and their stocks drop? You guys said it, buy in. And then utilities remains the safe haven. If you want to day trade and you want to put money into stocks right now that are less volatile, look at utilities. They continue to perform well. They have a very defensive nature amidst a market like this with uncertainty, but a very good safe haven. And then lastly, the S&P 500, they did slip slightly today, dropped down. If I remember correctly, let me take a look. They closed the market today at 5,942 points. That's down pretty good. We were at 597 midday today, all the way up to 599, almost 600. So, it's down a little bit, and it is exactly what they call it, a slip, right? In no way is this a drop, a bomb, a disaster. I'm not going to be dramatic about it like I normally am and tell you the stock market has crashed. This is normal. This is part of a normal flow of trend. And that's what the S&P 500 is doing right now. Yes, is it reacting to the news and what's going on out there? Yes, but it continues to go down and go up and go down and go up. It's not a go down, stay down, get worse, go down. But we'll see what happens through the weekend. And as we open up the market on Monday, what does that look like for us? All right, let's jump right into the charts and kind of take a look and see what's going on here. So we'll start with the S&P 500. First of all, you can see here that yesterday the S&P 500 had a bit of a rough rundown day. As you can see right here, this shaded area right here, it's kind of hard to see, but you have the dark black, then sort of a lighter color here. This is post-market. That's 8 p.m. So you can see here at 8 p.m. on Wednesday, the market closed. On 8 p.m. on Friday this morning, or you should say at 8 p.m. last night, Thursday night, when the market rallied open, you see that there was a pretty considerable drop. So you see this gap, from 595.13 down to a close of 594.94. And then as the 24-hour market, overnight market continued, it had this jump from here and it gapped back up. So it now left a gap here. We have this big, massive channel of a gap right here. But the good news is, as you know, the market always has to fill the gap. It ran up in the overnight. It ran down and back up pretty well up to opening, and then had a hard drop through the day. You can see the S&P 500 right now has been dancing on top of this support line, but it pushed back up. And we're in the post-market now, and it's run back up, and it continues on a little bit of an uptrend, and that's good, because when you go to the big boys that I trade, NVIDIA, not following the S&P 500 somewhat right now, APLD, where are we? Okay, sort of doing the same thing that NVIDIA is doing. But eventually with the S&P 500, as it turns, NVIDIA will turn with it because it's a huge part of the S&P 500, and it'll take APLD with it. And no concerns on my end. So let's go to the best day trade stocks that we currently have on our list. These are my longs. Here's our day. All right, so Ford. Wow, Ford is at the top of the chart with the highest stock cost per share, sitting at $10.59. Had a really, really nice run-up day. Okay, if you can ignore it, I'm in the 15-minute chart. Opened up at 1046, ran all the way up to a wick high of 1055. Okay, came back down a little bit and all the way up here, closed at 1060 was the top of the wick, so not too bad. Not too bad for Ford. 1043 was actually the opening of this 815 candle, and it worked its way back up. At 9 a.m., it was at 1046. 1046 to 1060, not bad for Ford. Serve Robotics, guys, had a pretty aggressive drop down most of the day. Two opportunities to make a little bit of money in Serve Robotics if you were day trading it, but pretty much wicked up, had a total high of $11.03 all the way down to $10.41. And that follows suit with my favorite stock, APLD, which ran really hard this morning after opening all the way down to $10.13 and gave me two really good opportunities to make money today. From about $10.15, you could have rode this clown all the way up here to $10.39, dropped back down again, $10.17, back up top here to $10.50. That was the moneymaker today. And then it settled back down. And now in the post market, it is running a bit horizontal. GTX had a rough morning, followed the rest, and just ran horizontal all day. Wasn't really any opportunities to play in that one today. SoundHound, however, after its hard drop all the way to $9.20, literally ran the day all the way up to $9.57. And that's where it closed, and it sits at $9.51 in the post market, but a great opportunity to be in SoundHound. IAG, which is the gold, you can see it kicked off the morning 709, ran all the way up to 746, and then it sort of had somewhat of a downtrend the rest of the day. CX, Cemexab, which is the cement company, you see also had this unbelievably hard drop down to $6.20 and recovered and rebounded and brought itself back after the opening all the way back to right where it had ran horizontal all night long and early morning, and then pretty much just continued on this trend over the last couple days. SLDB ran up hard dropped super hard, and then ran up. And now look at it in the post market. It went from $4.79 closing to a $5 per share aftermarket. So literally 21 cents just in this aftermarket right here. Grab spent the day on the down. It's on the way back up here in the post market. And BBAI dropped like the rest did, APLD, NVIDIA, all that. Had a great opportunity to run up here, $3.81 all the way up to a high of $4.01. Spent some time down, did another run. So good opportunity in BBI to take advantage of those as day trades. Let's look at the newer ones that we've got listed here. HIMS, okay, had pretty much, if you kind of see, there's a lot of up and down. But overall, and what I love to do in these, when I'm day trading these stocks, and I clear them by the end of my day, but typically what I do is some trend lines. So I wait for it to hit the lowest point, and then I'm going to go here, and I'm going to start my trend line and say I'm at this point today, okay? Well, I'm going to keep going with it, and whoops, didn't work. Let me lock it in place. Okay, and so now what I like to do is I like to watch the trend line, because chances are this becomes actually a support line for me. And you can see that the stock clearly did that. It stayed above this support line, but it continued up all day long. So you could have gotten in at some point here at about $62 and say, 90 cents, $62.95, 62, even $63, and rode it up here to the market close. It wicked as high as $64.60. So, pretty decent day for HIMS. Oklo, OKLO, pretty much spent the day on it down. QUBT ran down with an opportunity to run it up, but ran mostly down. And again, you could do the same thing with the trend line running down. So this would not be something I would trade in because of that trend line. QBTS was all over the board today. You've got some opportunity here, but the candles were hard to read, guys. This major engulfing, major red candle, and then it wicked, which showed you it was pushing back up. Next candle, green, and it spent time running up. You could have ran this from $15.60 and basically gone all the way to $16.14. It wouldn't have been a bad run. Pony was on a horrible downtrend this morning. And then it ran horizontal through the day. Wasn't anything I was touching. And WeRide, WRD, did the same thing and just sort of ran horizontal till the end of the day, sort of this end of market here, $7.46 opening on that candle all the way to a high of $7.56. Quick 10-cent stab, but wouldn't have been anything I was focused on or looking at. Let's look at the mid-price stocks. Got a few of them. Ionic had a very good morning. And this is a bigger mover, right? So you could have gotten in here at $39.51, gotten out somewhere about $41.44. Pretty good result. CCL, Carnival Corp, not anything I would have looked at today. It was somewhat flat for the day. It ran up beautifully in the pre-market, but it did not react very well after market opened. And Intel, again, also not very good, dropped, had an opportunity here to make money, but a little bit too much volatility, spent the day horizontal. And the last one we're going to look at here is the DT7. This is the highest dollar movers. So Tesla, again, broke my heart today. Hard run down all the way to 317. You could have rode that all the way up here to a high of 325, back down, ran it again. But again, I'm in it as a long-term hold, so just watching it. NVIDIA, just like I showed you, APLD did that same hard drop, ran up a little bit, and then stayed kind of consistent across the board, running horizontally. Palantir was nothing but pretty much a down day. AMD had a nice run up this morning. Could have been in there at $128 and closed that out at $132. Not bad. And then it just totally gave it all back to the casino. And it mirrors APLD, mirrors the SP 500, mirrors NVIDIA, all of them. Hood was the winner today, guys. Hood, if you sat on it, you watched it open, got down here to a low wick of 75.80, and it ran all the way up here to a high of 79.38, guys. And this is one I think I share with you guys that you can trade this one. It's a higher dollar, but if you can make $3 to $5 per share, let's say you buy 20 shares of it and can make $3 to $5 per, that's nice. That's a nice little, kick to continue to grow your profits. SMCI Super Micro. Again, a little bit of a tough day, ran down most of the day, but then it reacted. It basically said, no, don't you close on me, market, without me getting back up a little bit to where I was today. So 44.14 was the low and ran all the way up to a high of $45.71. And it's still continuing a little bit on an uptrend horizontally in the aftermarket, post-market. So, guys, it's Friday. We're going to have a great weekend. It's beautiful here in South Florida. I got some sprinkler work to do, got to mow my lawn. Excited to think about that. But I'm also excited to see on Sunday night at 8 p.m. what is the market going to look like? What's going to happen over the weekend in the news? Stay focused on it. Understand what kind of news is coming out of the White House. And we will see what this market looks like on Monday. Be safe, trade safe. Guys, enjoy the weekend. Have a good weekend. Do something nice for somebody. I'm taking my wife to breakfast tomorrow morning. We're going to have a little date brunch. Excited and happy about that. She puts up with me, so she deserves that. But either way, do something fun. Do something nice this weekend, guys. And I will see you at some point on Sunday when I put out a video for what my plan is for Monday morning based on what I'm seeing in the market when it opens back up at 8 p.m. Guys, Josh out. Peace.